Continue. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Legion Lads podcast. We are without our fearless leader today. JR is unable to make it. We were actually recording a day later than we normally do. We actually decided yesterday that we didn't need to record. We had something kind of in the back burner that we recorded. You guys recorded that last week.
Yeah,
Until yesterday, we record on Mondays. Today is Tuesday. We decided, we don't need to record. There's nothing that's super interesting happening right now. And then I woke up this morning and everything changed. And so we decided last minute, hey, let's get a recording. And so today I'm taking the charge. JR could not make it. Unfortunately, I'm sure we're going to talk about this next week with JR. Like we have to. So we're definitely going to for at least a little bit to get his point of view. But today I'm joined by Nick and Jose. So hi, Nick, and hi, Jose.
Hello.
Um,
there we go.
and before we get into the big news, the big announcement, I have two small announcements first, and maybe I'll let Jose do the second one because I don't want to be the only one talking here. But the first is the league has officially begun. The first official Legion Lads League, that's three L's in a row if you weren't paying attention, is now in session. So please make sure to get your round one games in if you are a local and you are in the league. Of course, we do have the two different groups playing. We have the Lisa League, which is the one with JR that most of you tried to avoid. And then we have the Bart League, which is more of our sort of learner league, casual league, that I did not allow Nick to join, even though I know he'd probably prefer to be in the casual league with Grogu. But make sure you get those games. And if you're having trouble getting your game in, just let me know on Discord. Second announcement is Bakersfield tournament. Jose, do you want to take this up?
Yeah, so every month, a buddy of ours down in Bakersfield, Grayson Parker, gets together at Otto's Video Games and More, and they do a monthly Legion tournament. People go out there, have fun, have a good time. Grayson provide and the shop provide the tables, amazing place. You go, you buy in, you play. Was it 3 rounds of Legion, or does he do
It's
4?
three. Fortunately,
Three,
three. I don't know
okay.
if I would do it if it was four. That's a
Three
lot of
rounds of Legion.
driving with four games.
Yeah. Three rounds of Legion. Go have a good time and go hang out at the shop and meet some good people.
And the next one is this upcoming Saturday, the
Yeah, Saturday the
20th.
20th.
So Grayson has said there's a few extra bonuses if you kill him with special units. So far, the only one he's told me is that he gets killed by a bounty. So I'm probably bringing a bounty hunter to murder Grayson's characters with. Or get murdered by, I just wish range troopers were out. I want to just swap full time to range troopers, but it's just not happening. But yeah, so should we stop pretending that there's not an elephant in the room?
Yes, this is Legion, lads, SOS, emergencies. All fire and brimstone. Legion is dead to half the population. So Rob went into the chat and was like, "Yo, uh, Adepticon's dead," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And
Well,
Rob,
well,
go ahead.
for the record, Adepticon is doing great. They're moving to
World.
Milwaukee. They got a what did they say? It was 5 times larger or 3 times larger, like a new venue. And they're like,
Yes.
we're ready for next year. We're ready for Worlds. Yesterday, we're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna get to go to a new place. And then this morning, I wake up and I see an announcement.
Adepticon still exists. Still
Adepticon still
exists.
exists, but you know what doesn't exist anymore?
A
The whole
world
reason,
championship
yeah,
of
the whole reason
Legion.
I went, the World Championship for Star Wars Legion
So let
and
me get
X
this straight.
Wing and
Luke Luke chokes and the Brits take the final world championship to the UK.
yes, I guess so. Official World Champion.
Official.
And we'll talk more about that, about the official aspect of it. But for those that do not know, the World Championship has been completely axed, gutted, destroyed. Any other synonyms? Anybody? Um, and in its place, it has been
Evolved.
evolved.
Evolve.
Ooh,
Evolved.
and it has been evolved into the Grand Tournament system. And so, at this point, I'm just going to open up the announcement, and we're just going to start reading it for those of you at home that don't want to read. Um, Longest story short, they basically said we cannot do worlds anymore. Is the gist of their announcement. and correct me if I'm wrong here, but they argue in this letter announcement that it is unfair to underserved areas, and that they would rather run more tournaments, more small tournaments, than sort of focus their energy on one large tournament. Is kind
Yeah.
of the gist of their argument.
They wanted to remove the invite system, right?
Right.
That was the biggest thing. They're removing the barrier to
Well,
to go to that tournament, that one tournament.
that one tournament, yes, but crucially, I think what they're doing and why they're doing it are just as important here. And I think it's crucial to understand that their argument is that they're saying that their world tournament system was basically forcing them to be unable to sort of help out some smaller communities. And
Yeah.
that their argument is that because they were axing worlds, which to them was financially unstable, because they were spending so much money on it, particularly sending people like me to Chicago for free.
Mhm.
Um, people who went to a 30, and there are so many complaints about this, by the way, but people that went to a small 33 player tournament and won and got their free ticket invite and the whole nine. But their argument is that they couldn't afford it anymore, that it was too expensive to fly people in, and that they could spend this money better at these 32 player tournaments.
There better be some hellacious price support.
And so
Well, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say I just want to pull out this key quote here, and that was the quote that the cost of sending one player to Worlds was nearly equal to the cost of providing event support to a standalone 32 person convention event. And so again, they're making this monetary argument: we can't afford this. We need to get rid of Worlds.
By event support, you mean the little 32 player store championship box that costs the store like X amount of dollars?
Well,
I
so
just
that is the burning question. What is the support that they will now provide? Because pie in the sky, what if they provided the ticketing prize wall type of support to multiple events everywhere? So there's a type of price support, the ticketing price support that you saw at Adepticon, because they did specify that in the article that they are looking to support all participants, not just the winners, just like they did at Adepticon, right? They supported all participants to get prizes. They did mention that in their article. If they did that type of support at multiple venues across the state, across countries, multiple times a year, um, that would be a pretty good trade, I think.
Yeah, and so now, now we're at the problem with us releasing this the night they release this announcement, and that is that we don't know what this actually means yet. And so, what I kind of want to do before we talk about the future is I want us to kind of take a step back and talk about the past just briefly. And you guys probably know more about this than I do, right? So let's go back to this very like first sort of worlds type situation for Legion. What was that like for you guys? Just hearing when they first announced World. Were you both playing when that was the case? When they like first announced, hey, we're gonna have a world championship?
no, I didn't come in until Clone Wars.
I
Okay.
I was not playing, but I was following X-Wing at the time, which also had a similar worlds um, type of setup. So
Mm-hmm.
X-Wing, and I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like that's where Legion kind of spawned from because X-Wing was FFG game, Legion was FFG game. That was
Mm-hmm.
kind of their model, right? Invites, um, tournaments that you would earn invites, then go to Worlds, then compete. So that was kind of an X-Wing thing, and
Okay.
I think that Legion just kind of followed suit.
Okay. And so with that, now the question is, at least for me, what about that being an FFG system do you hear really matters? Because I'm trying to figure out why they did this, right? And so, do you think that's the problem? Is that this was another system that they inherited that they just didn't like?
That's what I would say, because if you look at MCP system, which is an AMG game, Marvel Crisis Protocol, they don't have they don't have a system like X-Wing and Legion did. Adepticon was not their world. LVO is.
Elvia was.
and I could be wrong. I
And
will
that's an AMG supported worlds.
no. See, I don't think so I've never heard. I mean, I loosely follow the competitive scene in MCP because I'm more of a casual player. I've never heard any MCP player mention anything about AMG invites. It's all independently run for their
Interesting.
invites, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, and I'll do more research to find out, but I don't think that's the case. In fact, I saw many posts today from MCP players that was like, "Oh, a first official uh organized events. Yay." Like this was like new.
Oh, so there's
Yeah.
never been any official events for MCP at all.
Well, not
Nope.
not not in this type of not in this type of mindset, right? Like obviously there's events at these, these various, but they've always
Yeah.
kind of been kind of segmented.
Oh, interesting.
So again, without being the full, all the knowledge, but I do believe that this invite kind of process was an FFG type of procedure for them to do their tournaments, and AMG was not that way.
Okay. Um, so I don't want to get into the spice just yet. I'm trying really hard to just say stay with the
Let
Nick.
it
Like
rip,
let's be
bro.
positive about this
Let it
because
rip.
are we just gonna let it rip early? Like, am I just
Let it
gonna go? Because
rip, dude. Let your
okay,
feelings out. If it was JR, he
I
would have been all over it
I know
already.
you would, but he's not here, so I don't have the.
Nick's the voice of reason.
This
You
can
All
be a
right.
whatever you
positive.
say.
This can be a positive. If you want to go first, you can go first.
Okay, I'm gonna go, and I'm just gonna talk about. I'm severely disappointed. Um, Bordering on angry. I would be angry if I cared more about. It's still a game. Like, let's be real here. Like, it's still a game we still play for fun. So I'm disappointed, right? And I'm disappointed for a couple of reasons. Um, I am still a new player to this game. I would argue. I've now. I'm probably past that phase. I'm officially ended. I've officially ended my
You're
rookie year.
seasoned.
Yeah, I've finished my rookie year. I went the whole nine. I went to Worlds, right? So I'm no longer a new player. But if we flash back just a year, I was a new player. And one of the key things that got me to go do things for Legion was this thought that, hey, there's this big event that you get to go to, that you can try to earn your way to, that you can meet people, play people that are really good at the game, and have this big celebration sort of game. And one of the reasons I really got into the whole competitive scene was to do that. And just going back to Golden State Games, the only reason I went to that was because there was an invite that I could maybe win. Like, okay, and because of the Palpatine card. So two reasons, right? But that was why I went. And it was like, did I think I was going to win one? Did I think I was going to win the event? No, but that was part of the lure for me to actually go. There was no event tied to that. Or sorry, if there's no ticket side to that event, I don't know if I would have gone. And I mean, and I think of like all of the other tournaments that are around, and the only reason we were even talking locally about running a tournament in addition to the veterans tournament was because of the invites. It was the conversation that I had with Roman was always tied around, at least we was always tied around, how are we going to get these invites out? Roman had so many store kits with invites, and he said, how are we going to get these invites out? And he never was able to figure out a venue. There's not really a place in Fresno to do that for the rates that people would be willing to pay him for entry. And so it didn't happen. But that was the only reason it was coming up in the first place. Same thing with the Bakersfield tournaments is they tried with those invite kits to get some bigger tournaments there. And for a while, that was another one of the lures. And so it seems like if their argument is they want to help smaller communities grow, getting rid of the carrot doesn't seem like the way to do it. And like, let's be real here. Worlds is awesome. I loved it. Loved every moment of it. I had a blast. There are problems they could have done better, but getting rid of the whole system together. It seems like they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, to use a very fun idiom, right? They're just getting rid of everything. I and this is where I border on angry. Is it's like, why did they think that the people angry about the structure and some specifics means that we don't want a worlds at all? Or maybe they didn't even care what people thought. And they were like, yeah, we didn't want to do this at all anyways. Worlds is dumb. We just want to do the bare minimum to keep this game rolling because that's what we're being paid to do by
You do.
Embracer Group and by Asmodee, and that's what they want. Is they just want to keep putting out a couple of minis a year, and then that's all we have to do. And so I'm severely frustrated by this. I don't think that calling LVO a grand tournament instead of just a massive tournament. And let's take a step back for a second. You
It's
said
one of
all
the
the
biggest tournaments.
well, you said all the MCP tournaments are community ran. Well, all the Legion ones are as well. In fact, there's only
Yes.
one tournament every year that is run by AMG, and that's Worlds. The rest are just community tournaments
Well,
that are given a specific price support
for right now,
in the form, right? Yeah, in the form of this invite and some other promos, right? The big events, they're supposed to also have their own pricing, their own support, their own this, their own that. They run the events. And by the way, we're going to talk about this later, but specifically, these new tournaments have to use their rules. So we're gonna get we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yes,
we'll get to that in the next phase of this podcast. But I at least am very disappointed in this. I don't think that calling a player-run tournament a grand tournament is going to make any difference. I don't think that there are going to be more local tournaments that are created because of this. And like, let's think of that. What events could they turn locally, and by locally I mean in California, into one of these grand tournaments? So that wouldn't already have been a World Open qualifier, because you can't say, like, the only one I can think of is there's one in LA that people were talking about. But that still leaves the entire Central Valley without any grand tournament.
Well,
or whatever
it's going to be a conversion. Go ahead, Nick.
But Golden State Games could probably reach that.
But they're not. What I'm sorry. Let me be clear. I'm not saying what tournaments can be a grand tournament, right? There's all the big ones that already were World Open qualifiers. I assume will just sort of naturally become world grand tournaments, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking, their argument is we want to create new tournaments or support new tournaments so that there are more large tournaments in lesser served communities. Well, hi, I'm in a lesser served community called Fresno, California, where we don't have a big tournament. And so are you going to support us? And it's not just Fresno. It's, we have Modesto, we have all the way to Sacramento, all the way down to Bakersfield. We don't have an open qualifier.
So reading that article,
are we going to get a grand tournament?
Well, reading that article, I read it a couple times. It's not going to be, from what I gather, like I said, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the room. They're just making all the tournaments like their own self-sustained equal playing field tournament. So instead of 10 tournaments winning, each sending 4 finalists to this big Super Bowl, all that's going to happen is the Super Bowl's gone, and now LVO is going to be its own grand tournament. That's their champion. That's it. There's no more Super Bowl.
Here's my question.
Conference champions.
How many people do you know that will watch a single football game every year, and it's called the Super Bowl? Because I can count basically my entire family in that pool. Like, my dad watches football, my brothers don't, my mother doesn't, my cousins, some of them do, but like, the only game we watch this year is the Super Bowl, and that's because it is the Super Bowl. So taking away the Super Bowl to me is the dumbest thing possible.
Well, you watch the Super Bowl because you're a fan of football, not because it's a Super Bowl. Because let's be real, every football fan doesn't sit down. Like, I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't just sit down every Sunday and like, I'm gonna watch the Cowboys. When Sunday pops off from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., I am sitting down watching endless hours of football.
And then I'm saying that people that don't care about football 99% of the year will sit down and watch the Super Bowl because it is the Super Bowl, right? It is the big event.
I don't think we need that, though.
Yeah,
I don't think we need that.
I don't think we need it.
So I'm going to give you a hot take. I'm going to give you a hot take real quick. The only people upset about Adepticon not existing are the people who go to Adepticon, and this is me reading everybody's emotional cry stories. The people upset about Worlds not being a thing anymore are the people who enjoyed Worlds for not the tournament. Because everybody's complaint in all the threads I read was, it's the only time I get to leave my country to go meet friends. I get to meet new people every year. We get to hang out. It's more than just a tournament. It's a social aspect. So the people who are mad are people that just are going to miss out on that giant. Because even you, like, when you had your story, I was like, yo, I would have had way more fun doing the other stuff and playing the tournament. And
Well,
those
yeah,
are, I
same.
think that's a majority of what everybody is upset about because there were people that are literally like, oh, great. So now I'm not going to go once a year to go meet all my friends and everything that I've made over the last few years. Or I'm stuck, like even the moving location thing, like it's crazy. Like people are not upset about the tournament; they're upset about the social aspect of the tournament.
But that's the same thing, right? Uh,
But that doesn't go away though. That
but it
doesn't go away.
does.
Yeah, it
No,
does. When your
no.
ticket is paid for to
Oh,
fly,
Well,
yeah.
I
well.
okay. I want to
You're
be. I
you're talking
want
about
to.
a small number of people
Yeah,
in that case.
let's divorce these two ideas. So they make this argument that they're paying for people to go there is what's causing them to cancel the event. I don't think they need to pay for people to go there. People will go whether it's paid for or not. They could have just kept Worlds and gotten rid of the paid for flights, and I don't. And there would have been anger, but it wouldn't have been like the sky is falling anger. Like this is like I'm feeling that at least I am about this, right? Like if my flight wasn't paid for, I would have been more iffy if I was going to go. Like I definitely went because it was free, but if I still had to pay, I probably would have still gone. Like I don't know. I don't think
Probably is
that's.
not 100% that you were gonna go though because the ticket was paid for.
I'm sorry though, but it's a free trip to Chicago. At the end of the day, like
Well,
of
and
course I was going to go.
that's the other
Like
thing. Even the move of venue. So I was listening to Notorious Scoundrels. They talked about the move of venue. They didn't
oh god,
record
wait. So
with
their latest podcast is talking about the
was a
change of
late
venue.
the venue. They so in
Well,
that
I'm
podcast
laughing
it's like
because
worlds.
I'm sure it's positive, right?
Yeah. So
They're
no.
looking
Well,
up
kind
because I
of.
haven't listened to it. So
So yeah. So kind of. So basically, what it is they're like, oh, Worlds is going to be in Milwaukee, and oh joy. But one of the things that they talked about is it being in Milwaukee is actually gonna have a further distance and cost for other people across seas versus going
hmm.
towards Chicago.
Well,
So
they're not gonna
now
have to
they
worry
get
about
to
that anymore.
yeah, now they get to build on that next week.
I mean, Adepticon got a brand new area, and now there's not going to be Legion at Adepticon. So,
I think there will be Legion. It just won't
well,
be
there will, but
it
it's going to
won't be
be,
a championship.
yeah, at most it'll be 100 people going down from 300 plus. And by the way, they built a shit ton of tables to make Legion work there this year. So if they have
Yeah.
extra tables after this year, I'm looking to buy one. So I'll take a Mando table for whatever you're charging for one of those. I played on them on basically only Mando tables anyways. So, but yeah, I,
I don't. So I disagree with all that.
go.
People are still
Go,
gonna
Nick.
go.
Go, Nick.
So your what was removed was really just the invite system. That's really all that was removed. I mean, I guess okay, so we're not. And here's kind of the funny thing. If we the community still want to call the winner of Adepticon the world champion, we could do that. We kind of already were doing that. I mean, that's like that's what I'm saying. Like the support that AMG is trying to provide, I feel like they're just trying to get rid of the invite system so anyone that wants to go can go. All the people that went to Adepticon could go to Adepticon next year without an invite system, right? They could still go, and people will still go. Adepticon is one of the largest mini conventions. It's very popular. People are going to want to go, even if it's not an invite system. At least that's what I feel like. And if we still want to call the winner a world champion, we could call them a world champion. That doesn't have to go away. I think what's going to come from this is the community will pick up pieces that need to be put in. We'll create some of our own things like the community always does, and that's always what happens. All this will change is that you're hopefully going to have more support from AMG at all of these different tournaments, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think the invite system, and of course, there'll probably be some people, but I would probably venture to guess that probably 80% of the people or more that went to Adepticon would still go next year if they could.
So my only negative about this is from a competitive standpoint. I am not the greatest player, but I love the competitive environment. And what getting rid of the invite system does for me is it makes me less inclined to watch streams from Adepticon simply because all the people who had invites from the tippy top Ollie to Luke Cook to our own Rob, all that skills, all
all
that
the way down at the
amazing
bottom.
time. Um, it's the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. They won 32 player, 36 player tournaments. They won their little side tournaments to get there. And it's just the downfall for me is we're not going to see that type of environment ever again. Ollie is not going to come down to wherever Luke Cook is playing for a tournament.
I think
Luke
he
is not
will.
going to
I think he
go.
will. I think they will.
I
Now,
don't think they
now
will.
Well,
maybe it's not Adepticon. Maybe it's LVO. Maybe it's one of the other larger conventions.
But
Uh,
LVO doesn't have all this winner talent that's there. Like,
so I'm sure if you are a tournament, if you run tournaments in the United States right now and you are looking at your venue and you're saying, I could accommodate 300 people, then I'm sure right now you're going, okay, let's do this. I am going to take over the reins. And I'm sure somebody will take over the reins. But the problem is the reason people are going, in addition to the fun, to Adepticon is for the clout of winning, right? Because
you'll still have the clout though. If you
but
still
but
there's no
win
point
Adept,
in winning. There's no
yes, there
point. Like,
is.
well,
if
Yes,
I
there.
win LVO next year, if I win LVO next year, it doesn't make me feel like hell yeah I won because
It
I'm gonna go.
doesn't.
well,
No,
okay, well,
It
listen.
time
doesn't.
out, time out, time out,
Hold
time
on.
out.
Wait. Let me finish this. If I win LVO next year, which is never gonna happen, but if I win LVO next year, it's just I won a big tournament, great. It's not if I would have won LVO this year and I would have said hell yeah, because now I get to go to Chicago for a chance to play all the players that I watch religiously and follow religiously, and to be in that bracket with that caliber of player, that's a whole different tune than yeah, I won LVO,
All
that's
right,
it.
I'll eat my words if this case. They'll all be there next year. They'll all be there next year. They will.
So
No, they
They'll
here's
be there.
won't.
well
They will.
here's the thing is I don't think they're going to be there because you have to think of the level of clout. Like, okay, without getting too much into the crazy theory stuff, right? Everything is based off just like what we believe in, right? Like the reason that Ollie being the world champion matters is because AMG being the people in charge have dictated he is in charge. Or sorry, they have dictated that he is the winner of their highest level tournament and therefore the best player. And I'm not saying that the community can't do that in the long run, but what they're doing in the short run is they're creating a power vacuum of, well, how are we going to determine who the best player is or have this big tournament? And number two is what they're doing is I don't think that you will get the same level of participation in a quote world championship if unless it's either officially sanctioned as it has been in the past or the community can somehow agree on this, right? Because what is stopping the Brits or the Germans or the Spanish from saying, well, we don't want to pay for a flight to the US. We have a world championship here in
Mhm.
Spain, which they do. The World Team
Yep.
Championship was in Spain.
Mhm.
Yep.
Why would they come here when we, the dumb Americans, should go over there, as they would say, right?
Well,
And
some
so
do. Some do. Some travel over there. There are people that
Here's
travel.
what I'm
here,
saying is that was the key word. The key word you use there is some. Because what we see at Adepticon is a large number, a good number. I mean,
all
not
over
a
the
majority,
world.
but we see a lot of people come from around the world to play. Like at Worlds, I played an Australian, a, a Brit. Well, the Australian lived in Fresno, so but anyways, an Australian, a Brit, a Pole, somebody from Spain,
But
a Spaniard,
we we've
and
seen those players come to LVO.
but
We've had
not in the
people,
same numbers.
but well, I mean, maybe not as many, but a good amount. A good amount. It's not like we haven't had the Brits come to LVO. We haven't had other individuals come to
Well,
LVO, and
here's a
that's never been a world championship.
here's a difference. Rob, how many foreigners did you play at LVO? I played zero.
At LVO, none.
How many
Like
foreigners did you play at Worlds? A
I
lot.
mean, a lot, yeah. Like,
So then that's the difference. Like they're not gonna make that travel with
like
nothing on the
I'm not
line.
saying that I'm not saying that there will be no events where that's no moon and Team UK will not go to. They might. There may be an event that the Germans and Team Germany decide to go to, but it might not be the same event, and it might just be half the numbers that went this year.
My my hot take, and I'm gonna say this right now, just as a competitive player. I hate TTS. You know I hate TTS, but the sad part is TTS is going to be the only place that they throw a tournament where we're more than likely going to see Dash, Orc, Ollie, Lila, Luke, all in the same event because they could all do it from home, and that's going to be the big event now. Is
No,
yes,
no, no,
yes.
no, no, nope, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Well, here. All right. Can I take this in a different direction? Are we done with this direction for a second? Like, or do
Sure.
you guys have more to say?
Go. I'm just flowing. I'm having fun.
Star
Go
Wars
for it.
Unlimited.
Wait, what?
Star Wars. Yes.
What?
Yep. Yep.
Nick's like, what?
No,
We had MCP, now it's unlimited.
I'm reading the supported games here: Legion, Shatterpoint, X-Wing Armada, Protocol. No, there's no unlimited.
No, no limited, right? But Star Wars Unlimited is a brand new game. What are the odds they're going to have an officially sanctioned world championship here in the next year? Or do they already?
They actually are. So the announcement is 3 months after set one drops, they're going to begin their competitive tournament play, which is going to be a bunch of 100K series events that will have a championship at the end of their cycle. They've already discussed that. That's what everybody's waiting for and grinding for right
So,
now.
so we're looking at a brand new game. And granted, card games are very different. They have a very different history, and card games are a lot more competitive in nature. But still, when you look at the competitive nature of a game, you have to look first and foremost at its tournaments. How many people go to their tournaments? Who goes to their tournaments? Right? Like Pokemon's World Championship is in Japan, and people will fly from here to go to the World Championship. And I'm not talking the video game; I'm talking the card game, right? And
Yep.
so to me, when you take away that level of that top level, what you're really doing is you're kind of getting rid of, at least in my mind, that not just the push factor that you were talking about, Jose, where it's like, well, I want to go play against these really high players and see how I sit, but you're also getting rid of just the level of clout, the level of just
Competition.
competition. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm afraid of, is that the community, no matter how hard we try, will not be able to put something together at the same level of competition as Worlds. Whether there's an invite or not, I don't think we should be focusing on the invite aspect of it here. The invite doesn't matter. What matters is convincing all these people to go there. And all the invite did was give those people a sort of assurance, right? It gave you an insurance that says, hey, the people you're going to be playing here are good, and it's going to be worth going to, and you're going to have great games. That's what the invite did.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
So, and again, I know this is not the case everywhere, but I've heard stories where stores got 10 kits and ran 10 tournaments, and the 10 players
Right.
at that store all got an invite.
In theory, right.
And no disparaging to anyone, but I don't think that was the 10 best players going to Worlds, right?
Well, and
so I mean, look across all of these tournaments, all the big conventions. You see a lot of similar names. There's a lot of people that go to all these places. A lot of the same names you see at all these places. It's not like only the good players went to Adepticon. All these good players are going everywhere. They're going to all these different conventions. They're not only at Adepticon.
But what Adepticon has is all of them, or a large majority of them from around the world.
And again, so that's not even true. There's
or at
still
least from
not
the United
all,
States and Europe.
Not all the best players are there. There's players that don't get to go, players that miss, players that have plans. I mean, there's people that miss all the time. I so if I'm a year late from year from now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But they're all going to come. You may have some that don't. Adepticon will still be a huge tournament next year with competitive players, with good players.
Okay.
And players that want to prove something. Regardless if they're titled world champion, they're going to want to win Adepticon. They're going to want to compete against the players going at Adepticon and win.
But with the way things are, Adepticon's not going to have any more weight than LVO. They're all equal grand tournaments now. So
I mean,
whoever wins Adepticon is on the same level with me who wins LVO.
So I kind of viewed them all. Who wins LVO again?
I kind of viewed them all this. I kind of viewed them all the same, anyways.
But to be honest,
I didn't really put the Adepticon winner much higher than the LVO winner.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that it was like that was our Super Bowl for Legion. All the road to all the tournaments were the road to Adepticon. So whereas like, once again using me as an example, if I win LVO but freaking Ollie wins world, nobody gives a shit that I won LVO because Ollie won the championship.
Well, I don't think
Where
that's quite
Yeah, I
true.
don't think that's
where
true. That
I,
doesn't take someone
they're
winning
all they're
DEFCON
all
doesn't
the
take
same
away
they're
doesn't
all
take
the
away
same
those other winners.
they're all the same tournament level now. Like there's
I
no
get I
big
get
event.
what you're saying, but I don't think just because there's no worlds takes away how hard it is to win LVO, right? Nobody looks at JR and says, "You only won LVO. What a loser!" Like nobody does that, right? It's
But is it
just
harder to win LVO, or is it where you can afford to lose games, or is it harder to win at a
well,
DEFCON where we're losing one
that's
game?
see now
That's
we're
the
getting into a
tournament.
different now we're getting a
No, that
different no
that's the caliber of tournament.
you
That's the
could you
world
could
world championship versus a qualifier.
Luke Cook lost a game last year and still became world
Yeah, so
championship.
you can't really,
That's
yeah,
so
the
that's not
formats are
the
relevant.
format
Yeah.
exactly. But before we go around in a circle for too long, I think it's time for us to sort of move on to the next aspect of this. And the next aspect of this is called Roman. You need to be watching this because this whole section is for you. It's called
Uh-oh.
How do we get a grand tournament in Fresno? So we're gonna go and look at
Oh,
the grand tournament requirements. And I'm being a little bit facetious here. I don't think we're gonna actually get one in Fresno. It would be great. Um, we are centrally located, AMG. If you are listening, I think we could convince 32 people to come here.
I but that's just it though. 32 people is the minimum. That doesn't
Yes,
mean you're a grand tournament. They're gonna they're gonna take applications and
yeah.
they're gonna select a few.
and one of those applications due by Nick. Did you see?
They're due really fast, if I remember correctly. Like, aren't they due in May?
Yeah,
May.
May 1st.
Yeah, May 1st. Yeah.
No
So
So,
competitive season
it
for
is
2024
so in
people.
15 days you have to get
well,
all your shit together.
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
utterly they're setting people up to fail.
Well,
That's
no, no, I don't think so because, and they probably should have just said this outright, and maybe I'm wrong in assuming this. I don't think that they're gonna have. I mean, there's gonna be like a few. Like we're not gonna. You can tell Roman doesn't have some application. We're not gonna be a grand tournament. I have a strong suspicion that there is gonna be a very, very small number of slots, especially when you talk about across the entire world, right? Multiple countries and continents. Um, I would say US is probably going to be limited to probably just the
well,
big
well,
conventions.
I'm
The
sorry, but
major
they said
conventions.
they needed to serve communities geographically. Have they seen how big the United States is? If I'm expected to go to LVO to be my grand tournament, that's a little bit different than somebody in the UK who will have, by the way, I bet 2 to 3 within the distance of us driving to Sacramento or Bakersfield.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's tough because we're different geographically, right? We're just totally different in that sense, us compared to Europe. Um, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's gonna be more than what I'm thinking. And this is a bit on me thinking what kind of support they're gonna do because my hope is that they have Adepticon level price support at these grand tournaments.
And that would be
And that's
great.
that's why I'm thinking, well, there's not gonna be that many then. They can't do thousands of those. They can't even do hundreds. It's gonna be very, very small number if they're gonna try to provide that type of support. Maybe I'm
Well,
wrong and maybe they are gonna
That price
well, and
support
here's
wasn't that
here's
great though.
well,
well,
before
The
we talk
pictures that
about
you showed.
real quick, before we talk about whether or not the prizes were good, let's throw that away. That's irrelevant in my opinion.
Mhm.
Let's talk about what that prize system was. So it was a prize wall, so you have to choose your prizes. But crucially, it was run through AMG staff. Now, the people that were doing the actual passing things out, I don't think they were like full-time staff. They were like hired probably through Adepticon, but there was AMG people keeping an eye on the stuff that were in charge of the stuff. And if they start sending the stuff to tournaments around the United States and the world, there may be official AMG representation at these events. And maybe that's, and here I'm trying to be nice. Maybe that's why they're cutting worlds because they want to instead fly out their staff to these events around the world. Who knows? We don't know. And to me, the frustrating part is they should have had the prizes, they should have had all the information before this was released or at the same time it's released. We don't know. Because
Yeah.
as of right now, you can either look at this and say oh, this is all candy and amazing, and they're going to do all this cool stuff and, be crazy. Or you can say this is going to be awful, the worst thing ever. They're getting rid of competitive play entirely, and also be crazy. We just don't know, and
Yeah.
that's the frustrating part.
That's a silver lining. What is that going to be? Because Jose, don't talk bad about the Depticon surprise support. Do you remember what you and I don't say this as meaning that I didn't have a good time
Have you
and that it
seen
wasn't
my dice? It's
well,
dope,
and I
or
don't
they're
say it's
dope.
meaning I didn't have a good time or anything, but do you remember your surprise support at LVO this year? Do you remember what you got? You got nothing. There was
Yeah, no, no,
nothing.
I get that, but no,
There's
no.
nothing.
So
So
No, no,
my
no, no,
thing
no.
is,
You got like a couple. Okay, so
it,
I mean,
no,
let's
no,
talk
hold
about it,
on,
right? You
hold
got
on. Wait, according to that prize,
limit
when
markers.
we saw the picture of the prize wall, and when I saw that prize wall, all I saw was crap I can win by playing in store level events
Okay,
like
okay. If
holographic
we
cards, like stuff like that. Like why am I fighting so hard for those to be prizes when those are prizes I can win at home?
well, there were other things there, and
I
maybe it's just me, but the dice. There was dice there. There was
yeah, I mean,
Those dice are ugly. I'm sorry, Rob. Those dice are ugly.
that's a hot
Those
take,
dice
but
are
okay.
ugly.
That you can
The
have
clear ones are
just
better. The clear ones are better.
okay. Well, you can just be wrong. Um,
and as someone that plays what I play, do I play 4 of the 5 games that they run? It's not just prize support for Legion, per se. It's just prize support for all those different games as well. So Shatterpoint, MCP. So that would be great. That'd be great if that was more accessible to a lot of players.
well, and that's another question I have, and maybe I just am failing my reading comprehension here. Does a grand tournament have to offer all 5 games?
No, the way
Because I didn't, the way I read it, it
yeah,
doesn't have to.
the
You have a
the way I'm reading it is that if you have to at least have 32 players for each one you include.
right.
Doesn't say you have to
So how does
do
the prize wall work with that? Do you just get sent the Legion stuff and
I
not the X-Wing stuff?
I don't know.
Like I
I
don't think
don't
they're
know.
spending. I don't
I
think they're
don't
sharing
know.
the prize wall. I think the
unless
prize wall is going to be just the events that they run,
unless AMG provides prizes that can only be grabbed at these events,
which they
I'm
probably
not.
will.
We're hoping.
Well, probably,
I
right?
don't
I
see I
think
don't see a point in it because the holographic Shatterpoint cards that were on your prize wall, I have one of them that I got from just going to a Shatterpoint event. So I could pay X amount of tickets for the shiny card that I got for free just for playing in a Shatterpoint event.
but
Well,
they
The
had unique
they had
stuff,
ones that weren't in the kit though. They had holographs that were not in the kit that you could not get.
right? There was unique stuff. There was stuff you could have gone
$2 on
elsewhere.
eBay.
But no one wants to go to eBay to buy it. So okay, so here's and maybe I'm being too optimistic, but here's the one reason why I feel like this prize support has to be good is because that's the carrot to use their rule
It has
document.
to be unique.
They right? That's the carrot to use their rule document. They want you to use their rule document
So let's
exactly
talk
as
about that.
written. If the prize support's not good, there's no reason to do it. There's no reason for the organizer at LVO that's ran through Frontline Gaming. It's not even AMG that puts on LVO. Frontline Gaming does it.
Right.
There'd be no reason for them to run that document unless the prize support was good.
AMG, our rules document is so shit, we force you to use it. Like,
It's not shit. It should have been used the year they
oh
launched.
my God.
No,
You've
it's
never
bad.
played at a tournament with it. Are you
It's
kidding me?
bad.
The
I'll,
thing
I'll,
is
It
I
was,
felt that
I'm
we
sorry,
should have. I felt that we should have.
it was
so
Period.
the way they were using it at Worlds was vindictive. And I know that's a strong word. They were using it in a
yeah.
vindictive manner to
Where
stick it
is
to the
the
players. They didn't give us a freaking clock when X-Wing, who the rules are made for, had clocks everywhere. I'm sorry. They're being vindictive. They're just trying to go, we don't like you. Like,
Yeah, from an totally outside perspective, um, it seemed like the worst large tournament, the worst large that was ran the worst was Worlds,
yeah.
right? But every other
Yeah.
tournament was ran much better than Worlds. Worlds was the worst run tournament, which is
You know why? Because it's the first time the rules were used
It
when
doesn't
they should have been
matter.
used all year long.
I'm sorry.
no.
Jose. If your rules document says you don't get to know when to come back for your next game, so just sit around. Oh, we may have a lunch break, but we didn't actually put one in the tournament because we don't know when the rounds are going to end. I'm
Do you know
sorry.
why that wouldn't be an issue if you did it all year long? Then at Adepticon, you wouldn't be surprised.
No, so
It's
Jose,
it's it's an inherent issue with the game system.
yeah, Jose, this is the real. There's one problem with your argument that this document's okay, just no one was using it. They didn't even fully use it. They did not follow their own document at Worlds. They did not use the rule that you finish the round when the timer stops. So they didn't even use their whole document, just like we weren't. We weren't using the whole thing. They didn't even use the whole thing.
Which is, by the way, an insane rule. Like, just finish the round. You take as much time as you need. Like, I'm
And
sorry, but
and I heard some I usually listen to other podcasts, and there were on the MTP, on the Marvel Crisis Protocol side, they did play by that, and they had like a game go like an hour over because they did allow them
oh
to
my
finish.
god.
So
Well, and so
the great thing about this year going forward is specifically in these new rules, it states that you have to follow the rules to a T or you don't qualify for GTs. So regardless of whether or how much or how stupid or what you think it is, you now have to follow it to the T or your event is not going to be qualified as a
so
GT.
maybe we're looking at this backwards. Is the grand tournament system self-sabotage, purposeful self-sabotage, so they
No,
I
don't
think
have
it's
to
going to
support
happen. I think
so
it's
so
they
going to
don't have to
happen.
support competitive play at all?
I
no,
think it's going to
no,
happen because here's the thing. Somebody's going to say, "Oh, they didn't follow the rules," and report it, and that GT is not going to
Well, no,
matter.
I'm not talking about the tournaments themselves. I'm saying is AMG purposely sabotaging their competitive scene so they don't have to support it anymore.
no, no.
No,
So first, one thing I will say is that, and it's probably a little bit backwards on their part. They should have updated the document already. And I feel like they will. I feel like this document will not. I feel this document will change.
I
They'll
sure
they'll
hope
make
so.
they'll make adjustments, right?
uh,
They'll fix some things. I think it and if they actually do make some changes, it's kind of a bummer that they didn't already change it right when they released this announcement. But that's my hope that that's going to change so that we won't have some of these problems, and then you won't have to worry about people not wanting to use the rules, right, going forward. It's kind of, so one of the things I kind of always ask is, what do we want from AMG? What is it that we want from AMG? My personal opinion is I want support from AMG, right? So like the prize support, that would
Mm-hmm.
be great. I don't want AMG to run tournaments. Like that's what I don't want them to do. I don't need AMG to run
why?
tournaments
Or okay, so that's
because they're not good at it. And that's not really to the fault of their own,
it's
but it's because it's not their prerogative. It's not their goal, right, to run a competitive tournament. That's not what they're trying to do. So I kind of, I mean, I agree a little bit with what you're saying, Rob, that like, are they sabotaging the competitive? They're not sabotaging the competitive tournament, but is it important to them? No, it's not. They've been pretty open about that. They're not about
but
competitive. That's
if
not what they
they
support.
but if they didn't care that much, if they didn't, why would and they didn't support it, why then would they be forcing this effectively down the player base's throat? And to me, self-sabotage, I wasn't being
Sure,
entirely
sure,
serious
sure,
there, right?
sure, sure.
Um, which is
And
He was.
but to me it's um
and that's a
maybe
good
they're over their head.
that's a good
I don't know.
question. What that is a good question. What were they trying to do? Because we don't know, and it seems strange to try to figure out, right? When they do this, it's like, what are they
Yeah.
thinking?
Well,
No,
because they're doing two
is it
because they're
forcing?
doing it's like
Is
they're
it for,
going in two directions at the same time and they're pulling it's like we're not going to do this highest level of competitive play, but also you're going to definitely use our competitive rules that nobody likes or else.
well, here's the thing. Is it forcing is it forcing players to do it? Is that a fair assessment to make when the rules were released a year ago? And even at the first LVO that we went to, LJ forced some of them. We didn't have a clock. We didn't have any of that the first year. They told us flat out we're the guinea pigs for the rules. We're the guinea pigs for the new rule book. We're guinea pigs for everything. LJ flat out said that. So now I don't think it's a fair assessment to say they're forcing it down your throat because it was a lack of TOs making it the
Wait, time
regular.
out, time out. So they did use these rules at LVO. People didn't
The
like them and they complained. So other TOs stopped using them. And then a
Yes,
year and
but
a
they
half
should have.
later, but you see what the problem is, right? It's people
Yeah.
complained so they didn't use them.
Well,
That's
so
that's the problem.
there was no incentive to use them either, right? Because if you're frontline gaming, if you're these different another community leader, and you need to run a tournament, and AMG is not supporting that tournament, they're not doing anything for your tournament. There's no reason then to use their rules. There just isn't. Especially
Right.
it's there's just not. What is even the reason to? Because there's no connection at that point. If they want us to use this document, then there's gotta be a really good incentive to do it, right? And if there's not, then people won't use it, and LVO will still happen,
Well, here's the
and
thing:
maybe it's not called a grand tournament. It won't matter.
the incentive is the rule. The game is now under AMG, so stop using FFG rule set. Stop using FFG's rules. So here's the thing: it doesn't matter about incentive. It all these other tournaments were using old FFG style rulings, old FFG style stuff.
No,
And
no, no. They're using a lot of what is in AMG, and to be honest, a lot of it's very similar. There's not much. There's not much that is different between this document and the old FFG document. Really, the differences are the things that we're pointing out: the timer things, the not telling you the
but
time,
that's the
like
thing, the
that.
game is now under AMG, so therefore ipso fatso use I know I said that wrong. Use AMG rules. Like the game is owned by AMG now. Use
But
the
A
AMG rule
but
document.
but AMG is not a tournament organizer. AMG doesn't organize tournaments.
I do like your statement on what you want them to be doing and just support the tournaments rather than run them. One thing I will say that they're adding on to the rules for grand tournaments is their statement that they're rewarding games through or rewarding players every game they play rather than every game they win. I do like that.
Mhm.
That's nice. And I just want to add some positive spin here for a second because that was a cool thing about Adepticon is, win or lose, we both got 8 tickets and you won a couple extra tickets for winning. There were at least 3 games where I gave a ticket away to the person I played against, and I said, "Hey, here, we'll just both get 9 for this game." Because to me, it's like it's just a part of the other game of the tournament, which is the system of prizes. Or we'd agreed, like before the game began, like, "Hey, we both get 9, right?" It's just we're just playing, we're just adding that kind of to the game, and so that's fine. I think, and their support, I think, is nice. I just am frustrated when it seems like they're adding the stuff that we don't want on top of that, right? It's like they're giving us ice cream, which to me is the prize wall system. And then they say, but you have to eat this broccoli as well. But that broccoli is in the ice cream. It's not eat your broccoli. It's we're going to throw the broccoli in the ice cream and not eat them together.
The,
Thank
and
you. It's gross.
I do agree with
I
that.
love broccoli. That's
I do
gross.
agree with that, but that's where I'm a little optimistic that this document will change, and
which
that changes will happen, and then it will be a better document to
which is
use.
easy to do, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't take much to change it. I
Oh yeah, you're really talking about two things wrong with it, right? A total. There's probably only two things
yeah.
wrong with the document:
Yeah.
the time stuff and the draws. That's it.
Well, and the draws aren't even a real issue. It's just don't
Mm,
cut so large.
No, the draws are
mm. I
terrible.
I
Ah,
I'm I'm gonna go. I mean, I wasn't there, right? I was not at Worlds,
the
but
problem with the draws is that the cut was too large for the number of games we played.
intentional draws are a problem no matter what the cut is.
Yeah.
If mm, if
That's at least my thought. And I listened to Dash talk
well,
about that,
there's yeah,
and how
Yeah.
and I listened to that podcast where he even said he was like, I'm trying to quote him exactly from the podcast. He was thinking, I don't know if we should be doing this or what we should be
right.
talking about, because there
I'm
was essentially he was alluding essentially people were colluding,
well, there's
right,
not.
to
I'm not
It is
intentionally
defending.
draw.
collusion. It is
I'm
collusion.
I'm not defending the act of intentional drawing. What I'm
Yeah,
saying is, if they had cut to 8 instead of 32, there would not have been an incentive to intentional draw.
sure. But those numbers may not always happen, right? I mean, the numbers just may there's gonna be different size tournaments, and it
So
could
you
come
need
up.
an
If
incentive. You
card
need
games have figured out a way to deal with intentional drawing, I think we can just copy them.
I don't want
yeah,
to be a
here
card game
I
though.
no,
But
no, hold on.
I'm not. I'm saying in the sense of just how you do cuts, not anything
You
physically with the game itself.
Yeah.
you need an incentive not to draw. And here's the thing, here's the
More
incentive.
prize tickets.
No, here's the incentive. I was against it at first. We're going back to Sue here. I was against the double draw being a double loss at first because I thought it was stupid. I thought you should just award the player who's ahead on points, life points, and make that easy. But then I realized that those games that we're drawing were taking forever. So the prize of if I don't get this game done and win as fast as I can, I'm going to take a loss and essentially get bounced from top play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sped my game up. It sped my opponent's game up. It even made me do I'll concede because I know I'm going to lose and it's going to do us no good if we both lose. So I think that Legion needs to do the intentional all draws, whether they intentional or not. Well, they won't be intentional if you're going to take a loss. All draws just be a double L because these competitive players don't want to lose. So what's motivating you to get it done is fucking I gotta win. Because if I lose, I lose. If I win, I win. If I tie, I lose.
All right. Um. Okay. So without us staying here for a while, what would be so at this point we kind of have hashed out the grand tournament system. We've hashed out their intent, which is, they want to allow for a larger variety of players to play over larger communities that have been underserved in the past, which I don't think any of us disagree with, right? Like that's a good thing. That's a positive. Um, we've talked about necessarily we're not happy with Worlds. It's being gone. Um,
Some of us are unhappy.
some of us aren't happy with Worlds being
Some
gone.
of us are fine.
But my question is, where do we want the community to go in the future then? If a, Worlds is dead, long live Worlds. What do we want Worlds to look like? Where do we want it to be? How do we think the community should recreate Adepticon as Worlds from this year?
So it might take a while, but I think we will. So, you know, Frontline Gaming and the ITC is a good example. Frontline Gaming, the ITC and Warhammer, that doesn't exist today because Games Workshop is such doing such a great job at running tournaments these over the last several decades, right? It exists
Mm-hmm.
because Games Workshop didn't do a good job running tournaments, so somebody else stepped in to create that tournament circuit. I'm not saying we have to get that to that place. It's a very
Right.
different game, and we haven't been around nearly as long, but the community will fill that void, and I am confident that with that community involvement, with the people that already run tournaments today, the individuals that do run these tournaments, will be able to work with AMG to get to us to a place that we're happy with. Yes, it's not going to go back to invites and
Or
a quote
maybe it
unquote. I
right?
don't know, so I don't think
Unofficial
so.
invites. You don't think there will be unofficial invites? Because
So,
I think there will be.
well, I think there will be, but it'll be interesting to see how they do that because their document's very specific that the tournament must be open to the public. There,
I don't
it
think
can't be
AMG will have any involvement in any future player run Worlds. They will not offer support for it, is my assumption.
they so even the MCP is an interesting example. MCP does a last chance qualifier at LVO, and then their big tournament, just like we had at Worlds for
Mm-hmm.
Legion, they did the same thing at LVO for MCP. That had a last chance qualifier. They had people with invites. So does that go away as well? And I think it kind of does, unless they can somehow say the grand, because to my knowledge, it seems like these grand tournaments can't have barriers, can't have
No,
invites,
there are
right?
going to be
So
no invites. It has to be open to the public.
has to be open to the public, right? So that's why I feel like the invite system is gone. I don't feel like, and the only way it comes back is if the support is not there. Because again, it's about the carrot to run this document.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a strong enough reason to run this document, then that'll be better for the community to
So
do that.
what are the odds the carrot isn't there and nobody bothers to become a grand tournament? LVO says, we don't need it.
High,
Then
high.
that
And in,
that's
and in that case, what happens next?
that's when you probably do see an independent tournament circuit pop up. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That'd be best case scenario.
you think independent tournament circuit is the best case scenario? I'm kind of. Do you think that an independent circuit can use AMG Grand tournaments as a part of its invitational aspect, or do you think that that's
No,
not
it would totally be separate.
No,
okay?
it would be separate.
Now the best now, but the best case scenario is that the AMG support's good. That's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is the AMG support is good. They work with the community leaders. They tweak the document to something we like a little better.
I
And
don't
not
think
that
they're gonna tweak it, man. I really don't, dude. I
I
really don't.
so here's and again the optimistic in me. Yes, they will because they already didn't follow it. They already didn't follow their
I sure hope they
document.
do.
So how can you? I can't
Because it was
imagine.
like here's the thing. What did you ever do the first time that you got right away and that you didn't improve with over years? Here's the thing. It was AMG's, well, from my knowledge of what I'm hearing, it was AMG's first year running an event as themselves, as AMG. So of course they're gonna be dumb. We saw when AMG first got Legion, we saw a live stream of two dudes from AMG play a game of Legion with unreleased units and played them completely wrong, and they were destroyed by the Legion community for it. So we already know that they don't do stuff the right way. And those guys probably have gotten better. We don't know, but what I'm saying is AMG's first ever event. You first time at anything, you're gonna have hiccups, you're gonna have issues, things are gonna be wrong. This is their chance to do with this circuit or with this grand tournament scheme to be better every event, to get everything better every event. So I'm not thinking that it's all bad. I think that they got nowhere to go but up from here because if they go lower from here, then we're in trouble. But I think it was a first event, hiccups are gonna happen and it's gonna get better.
And that's why I'm totally thinking they'll make changes. They'll make changes to the document. They'll learn from it, and that it will be something that we'll all be happy to use.
And that's the best case scenario. But even if we're all happy to use this, at the end of the day, there's still no worlds at the end of at the end of the yearly cycle, and it kind of just feels like yay at the end, right? And that's to me, it's always
So
going to be that end frustration is until we get a player run tournament circuit, we're in this weird limbo, and it's uncomfortable. That's I guess where I'm gonna finish with that.
I guess that's where I think we'll rise above that. I don't think that's I sure people like it. I don't think it's that important. And maybe even I mean, here's a good example. There was a ton of MCP players at Adepticon, right? There was a lot of protocol going on there. That wasn't their worlds. They were all there just to play MCP. People will still go just to play the game because if they still like the game, they like the players playing the game, and it will still be a place that draws a lot of players in.
Oh, of
Adepticon will
course.
still draw a lot of players in, and it will still draw good
We're
players.
hoping, we're hoping
No, okay. And again,
Yeah.
I don't. My argument isn't that Adepticon is dead, or that the Legion competitive community is
worlds.
dead. It's that without that worlds, and I guess we're just sort of wrapping around here before we finish for the podcast. But it's that the worlds that drew in the Germans, the Aussies, the French, the Spanish, the Latin Americans, and of course the Americans and the Canadians, right? But that's no longer there. And I don't think we're going to see an event as international as Worlds, and that it's counterproductive to their own arguments, which is that they want to have a sort of international sort of game, I guess. I don't know. So,
I hope I hope what we get from this, and this is the player standpoint. Uh, what I would like to see is the community come together. Since we're talking about driving community, I would love to see a community driven event. AMG out the door. Let's take the winner of LVO. Let's take the winner of the Atlantic City Open. Let's take the big series winners, each number one, and have just a awesome tournament that has just these top like conference champions play in their own little bracket, and then the rest of the event could be people wanting to go and have fun and have that be a player run thing. We'll still get the competitive aspect of having the best of the conference champions, and we'll also have the fun event that people have gotten used to of worlds becoming. I think if we can get together and do that as like a player, I think that would be the best outcome, because then you'd be able to leave AMG alone with their grand tournament scheme and have a giant, hopefully very productive player ran like our own little worlds type deal.
Nick, you have anything else to add
It'll all
or?
be fine. It'll all be fine. The
It's not
the
gonna be fun, Nick.
the they'll still come. They'll still come. They'll still play. Maybe it's not Adepticon. Maybe it's a little bit of LVO. Maybe it's,
Hey, you know what? If LVO is the new, all right, you know what? I'm putting it out here. LVO should be the new worlds. It is in the best city possible for this because it is an international city. It is a city that you could convince anybody to want to go to. It's Las Vegas, baby. It's got an amazing venue. The tables were awesome and great and perfect, and you're gonna love it. And just everyone go to LVO because that's the one that's easiest for me to go to. So that's my 2 cents. LVO for New Worlds 2024. That is a vote I can do with full confidence. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, where else would you guys like to see Worlds? I guess before we wrap up with some rules questions.
no, I think LVO. I think LVO is a great place, great location.
Isn't it also the World Championships for Warhammer?
Mm, yes. Well, it's LVO is the end of the ITC season for Warhammer. Yeah. So the ITC season that ends at LVO. Yes, because Frontline
Okay,
Gaming runs the ITC.
got
Yeah,
it.
so it's worlds for Warhammer, worlds for MCP, and then
I
is
think
it the
I
worlds for X-Wing?
No,
No,
No.
Adepticon has
Adepticon was
Worlds
the
for
Worlds.
X-Wing.
Okay.
I believe I believe it's the end of the season for most of the things on the Warhammer side for that Frontline Gaming runs for the different
Okay,
Warhammer games.
so yeah, it's already if it's good enough for Warhammer, it's good enough for Legion. So LVO, World
LVO.
Championships, Legion, let's do it.
Just remember when you're in Vegas, do not tip more than $5.
um, any last words before we do before we do a rules question?
No, I'm good.
Any of the tangents? No, I
Look
think
at
we
Nick.
mostly.
Nick, any comment on the tipping of $5?
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you said that.
uh,
Terrible.
I had to. I'm sorry, Nick.
oh, geez.
I don't even want, yeah.
You know his wife watches this podcast, right?
Whose wife?
Your wife.
My wife? No.
Oh, come on. Just you sure played along. Anyways, Jose, what do we got for some
All right, so
rules questions?
some
Or
some
or
rules.
or just the one, well, however many you want to do.
Let me see. Dang it, now I have an option.
Ooh.
Um,
Give
all right, I'm just
me
gonna. Like I said, we'll go through them. So the topic for this rules questions are all pulled from the forums. If you guys listeners have already read these, it's fine because I pulled these like a week or two
and
ago.
as the listeners know though, the rules forums are not good enough to know whether or not it's you're allowed to use clear bases, but they are good enough.
Actually, I did talk to JR about something, and I found out that the bases are not legal because with
Oh,
the so oh, yeah, wait. So did you know that the Legion bases are tapered?
yes. Are his not tapered?
None, the clear bases are not tapered, so they're
Does
not
that
legal.
matter though?
Yes, it does, because here's the thing. So when they're tapered, you slot in, you're going your right distance. Because you have to use the tool the way it's supposed to be laying on flat, right? But if it's a flat base, you're gaining the slightest of, yep,
I would need to see this in reality, but I think I get what you're trying to say.
yep. So they're
My
not,
understanding is the movement tool goes off the bottom of the base, so it wouldn't matter.
No, because if that was the case, the base would be flat and there wouldn't be a taper. Because here's the thing, the movement tool slots into the taper of the base.
I'll
That's
be
your
right back with the
distance.
movement tool.
It's tapered. He wants to see it's tapered.
Yeah, so
That's
like
tapered.
no.
That's tapered.
I know it's tapered, but your movement tool, if you could pull it out, is not tapered. Is it?
Yes,
Is
it
it
is.
not?
Yes, it
Is
is.
it?
It's tapered. Yes, it is. It is tapered. It is
Okay.
tapered.
So
You want to know why I know it's tapered?
he's just
Hold
been
on.
using illegal minis
Hold
the
on.
whole
You want
time.
to know why I know it's tapered? Is because when you put it up against your tapered Legion base, it's flush at the top and flush at the bottom.
Yeah, it is tapered.
And
Huh.
then when you put the clear base on the tapered edge, you're actually gaining a smidge of a legal distance.
All right.
So yes, the clear bases are not legal. So anybody who's using clear bases, if they're not tapered, we'll go this far. If the and there's only one maker that makes these clear bases, and they're not tapered. They're not tapered.
I just want it to be very clear that if you are using illegally based minis in the Legion Lads League, you are forced to draw, or sorry, forced to lose all of your games. so,
Uh,
so whoever he plays against first, I hope you're listening and JR did not listen to this podcast. So you can just say, well, Rob says you lost. So, and then he goes, what?
yeah, I was sitting there thinking about it because I've done so many paint jobs for JR, and I've had
Yeah.
those bases like in my hand.
Do you have any on you?
Oh shit, no, he has. I think
Oh,
he has them. Let me see. I think he only gives me what I have. But next
okay.
time I do a paint job, I will send you a picture.
Yeah.
It hit me the other day because I was like, no, I
Huh.
said these bases are not legal because here's the thing. I've gotten on JR so many times, and this will make me think about it. When you're looking at the measurement tool, when JR goes in for melees, I've told him before, I said, hey, I said, push your ruler. This is before we had clear bases. I said, push your ruler into your base because
Yeah.
that's you're giving yourself too much room. Okay, the reason I do that is because it's a taper that those and mainly those little that little millet
Oh,
inch
it
matters.
matters.
Okay,
Of
but
course it matters.
here's the thing: when you have a straight base, you get that little extra movement.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
illegal,
Um,
Rob,
illegal
illegal.
for okay. So illegal. All right.
Take a file if you want to make them legal. I'll settle right there. But anyways,
Anyway, so JR is officially no longer an LVO champion because he cheated. Um,
well, if we weren't using AMG rules, remember? He's cheated. He's cheating going
pretty.
forward.
Yeah, sure.
He's cheating going forward.
Anyways, what? Sorry for the tangent, but
Yeah,
what do we
sorry about
have?
that. Nick's like, shut up, or I'm trying to go to bed. All right, so merciless munition, Bosk one pip, and
Don't use
embark
it.
slash
Good answer.
disembark on open trans disembark. The question is asked by Tyler. He says, can Bosk use the free speed one move from merciless munitions to embark or disembark on an open transport?
No.
No.
All right. What's the answer?
Mm-mm-mm. No.
Man,
Seth just
we're
no.
good at this. I should be a judge.
We've
I
been
got
playing
this.
forever.
I know.
RAM interaction with deflect,
Oh, do you want
block, and
real
duelist.
quick? Can you give the reasoning for the viewers? Why
So
can't
the
he?
okay. So the reason is Seth put, besides the fact that he just outright put no, he put the ruling is a trooper unit may make a speed one embark or disembark move during a move action instead of making another movement. As a speed one move provided by Merciless Munitions command card is not a move action, it may not be used to perform the embark or disembark move.
Yeah. All right.
So
Cool.
then this seemed like they're that you should know them, but if you didn't, it wouldn't be shocked if you didn't.
Okay.
This next one, I don't use any RAM units, so this was new to me. RAM interaction with deflect slash block slash duelist. This is by Wicked. He says, with the new rules for RAM, which
W
I,
is that WCKD?
yeah, do you know
Oh,
him?
that's yeah, that's Michael from Los Angeles. I met him at
Okay, well,
Worlds.
I'm going to be real with you. I don't know the new rule for RAM, so that's why it was like, whoa, when I read it.
Okay.
So with the new rules for RAM, say I miss on all attack dice for a melee, and after the dodge and cover step, my crits appear. Would my opponent have to spend their dodge token before my crits appear?
Oh, the dodge step is before all this happens. So the question is, can you have deflect running even though they're blanked? I think the answer is yes, because you don't have to spend the dodge to block something to get the usage of deflect, is my understanding.
Nick.
But you can't dodge one of the crits though, even if you have situational awareness.
Yeah, but the attacker modifies their dice before you spend dodges.
But Ram is after everything.
Hmm.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my answer is definitely correct. So let's see if I'm
So
right.
So Seth says yes. The opponent will spend the dodge tokens to cancel and remove the hit results during the apply dodge and cover set prior to Ram converting the remaining dice to critical results during the modify attack dice step. The opponent may not spend any dodge tokens against these new dice results as a step and opportunity has passed.
Right. And we already know from other rulings that you can spend a dodge token even if there's no hits to defend with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this one might fall more into uh Nick's where playhouse because he uses our old boy Luke. Multiple unit melee and disengage. This is by Geo Renschwang. That's funny. I have a question that I haven't been able to work out with what happens when multiple units are in melee and using the disengage keyword. In the situation, General Grievous moves into base contact with Obi-Wan, starting a melee and becoming engaged. After his initial attack and defend, Anakin moves in on his activation and makes base contact with Grievous from behind, also jumping into melee. My questions are, is Grievous now engaged with Obi-Wan and Anakin, 2 units, or is
Yeah.
he considered only engaged with Anakin as he joined the melee most recently and was the last to attack?
That is
Furthermore, if Grievous is now only considered engaged with Anakin, should Obi-Wan be moved slightly off base contact? There's more. If on the next turn I use Grievous as one pit, am I able to use disengage keyword? As the rule states, you may perform moves while engaged with one unit, or is the disengage keyword now useless because he is engaged with both Obi-Wan and Anakin?
Yeah, so no to all of that because
yeah.
you don't lose, obviously you don't lose engagement with the other mini that you are already base contact with. But I can see if like you may, if you're new to the game, sometimes you played other games where like you be snapped out of melee into other melees, and maybe
Yeah,
that's what they were thinking. But in Legion, you stay. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you're correct. Yeah, he put you can't use Grievous as one pit disengage because you're engaged with more than one trooper unit,
Well,
which is crazy.
or,
Good.
yeah, the interesting thing there is like that's the only way to be engaged with more than one unit is if you're in an engagement and then somebody else engages you, like you can't engage in a melee if you're in a melee. That just doesn't work.
So
So
with Luke's disengage is different because it's not like the keyword on his Grievous's card is disengage with one unit. Luke just has disengage period, right?
no, no, no.
Disengage. No, it's one unit.
Disengage is
One unit.
always one unit.
Yeah. Luke can only disengage with one unit as
Oh,
well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how
I never
disengage
knew
works.
that.
Yeah. What you'll see, what will happen if Luke gets into a tough situation, he'll force push one off, right? Then he could move freely
Yeah.
after that.
I never jumped on more than one unit for when playing a Luke because I was like, oh, he'll just disengage from both.
Well, that's yeah.
Okay.
So for the listeners, if you're fighting against somebody with disengage, throw more bodies at it and hope it works out. Just hope it works out. There's no reason not to.
Cool, cool. All right, so this one is combined arms and disembarking. I'm getting back on the Cody train for my first game with for the event, so this was useful knowledge.
But I'm not playing either.
Uh, I'm bringing Cody and Rex.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Nick, you tech against it. I'm not gonna be your friend ever again.
How do you tech
Um,
against Rex?
you just
Just
bring Pierce and Pierce clones out.
he's playing Rebels. Of course he's gonna have Pierce.
I'm telling Nick, don't.
Hmm.
Nick, you could play
How do you play
Empire.
a Rebel? No, how do you play
You could
Rebels
play
without
anything you want,
Pierce?
Nick. Don't play Rebels. Okay?
Cassian, Ahsoka is what you should be playing. No, just play Mando
I
with
fucking
Grogu.
Mando.
And
Um,
if Jose complains that you beat him with Grogu, then you can come on the
he has
podcast.
beaten me with
I've
Grogu.
I've already beat him with Grogu.
No,
He's
no,
killed
but
Grogu's killed my Mando by the hand thing. Such a stupid card. I forgot it existed. All right, so
Jose will
anyway,
complain if you beat him with Grogu.
yeah, I haven't, like I said, my round one, I'm playing Nick. I've never beaten Nick, so let's see. All right, so combined arms, I'm coming for you, Nick. I'm gonna call you Nicholas when I'm done. Combined arms and disembarking. This is by Rex Savage. Hello, I'm wondering about the interaction between Cody's 3-pip combined arms and the rules for disembark embark. Rules for embark and disembark. A trooper unit may make a speed 1 embark or disembark move during the move action instead of making another movement. Rules to disembark, a unit that is being transported may perform a disembark move during a move action instead of making another movement. Does this mean that since Cody's 3-pip offers a free speed 1 move provided other conditions are met, they may instead take a disembark or embark action instead of the normal speed 1 move?
All these people trying to do shenanigans with disembarking and speed one moves. It does not work. It never works.
Yeah,
Stop trying to make it happen.
doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. You know why they don't do it is because that year Dave Grant did 6 acts with Palpatine, Vader, and
No,
the
that's so long ago now. Like that's not why they're doing all this
it
now.
still works.
I'm not saying the
All right,
list is bad. I'm just saying that that's not why people are trying to do disembark shenanigans.
all right. This one is for JR because we were on him to go to Worlds and to take Maul, and he was like, "No, I think I'm gonna take experimental droids instead."
I
So
should have
JR,
just convinced him. I still think if he had been taking Maul, he would have gone. But
yeah, yeah, dude. All right, so
and then Maul ended up in
uh,
top eight twice. So
Duel of the Fates, which is Maul's 1-pip,
yep.
and experimental droids. If Maul is
Oh,
engaged with the unit with AI on the turn Duel of the Fates is in play, can that unit spend surge tokens for the special Battle Force abilities?
that's a hard one. I don't think so because they're surge tokens technically.
Nick?
But
Well, the dual of fate says they can't spend green tokens, right? And
mm-hmm.
surge tokens are green tokens.
That's so weird. It's like they specifically made these to be countered by. Oh, that means that IG-88 too, right?
What does he do? I don't
Same
use
thing.
88.
Where you can his 1-pip is if you're the target of his bounty, you can't use any green tokens if he attacks you. Oh, well, that's if he attacks you. There's never mind. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but
So
even then, like your bounty is not like I'm assuming this is for all the droids, right? With the that get
yeah,
to
yeah.
use
With Duel of the Fates, it's whoever he's engaged with.
whoever's engaged with. Yeah. So Seth put a unit engaged with Maul while Duel of the Fates command card is in play cannot spend aim, dodge, standby, or surge tokens. The free action granted by the experimental droid's battle force states that the chosen unit may perform a free action to spend a surge token on the chosen commander unit. As such, a unit near Maul cannot spend surge tokens. It cannot complete its free action and may not gain the associated benefits from spending the surge token.
Brutal.
GR could have annihilated all these droids and could have been him and Ollie in the finals.
He could have maybe.
And that's it for those rules questions. Those are fun.
All right. Any final words before we end this for the day? I will say that I had more to say, but I feel like I was going in a circle, so I stopped. So maybe next week we'll talk more once JR is here to give us the doom and gloom. But any last words for you guys?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm going to say good luck to everybody going to autos on Saturday.
Oh yeah,
Good
go to
luck.
autos.
Yeah, go to autos. Good luck to everybody going to autos on Saturday. Good luck to everybody in the league events, and let's try to have fun. Personally, I'm going to be playing a new list every round. Try to play a little bit of every faction every round. I think everybody
Ooh,
should have a blast and do the same thing. And as always, Nick, you're awesome. It was great to have you on. We rarely get this
thanks,
special
Nick.
treat.
Thanks for having him.
Oh, hey, if Nick beats you again, you have to call him Saint Nick.
No,
Well, you said you're gonna call him Nicholas if you beat him,
Nicholas.
so
Nicholas, go to your room. You lost. That's what I'm gonna say as I leave this house.
oh, as you leave his house. Oh, okay. You're giving him the
Well,
home field advantage for this one?
we're gonna if we could play at Legends, I'd rather play at Legends. But his house is nice. Like if you ever get a chance to go play at Nick's house, Dude, it's awesome. It's fun. It's
All
warm and
right,
cozy.
there you go. I'll add it to my list of places I want to get invited to.
Invite him, Nick.
But that being said, this has been a Legion Lads podcast. I hope everybody has a great week, day. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Later.